Hello and welcome. Are people coming in, Clarissa?
Yes, I believe we have people coming in.
Hello. Yeah, great. Oh, we can see people coming in. Brilliant. Welcome, welcome. Well done, early birds. Well done, early birds. I am going to be introducing, oh, here we go, from Singapore. So this is the great thing about coaches. I don't even have to ask. Please in the chat, let me know where you're dialing in from and where you are in your coaching journey. As we're waiting for people to come in, yeah, where you are coming in. Oh, excited already. Lovely. Thank you. Lovely to see that. Yeah, please do share where you're dialing in from and where you are on your coaching journey. That is absolutely brilliant. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, welcome. Let's check you in the right place. You are here for it's the niche advantage, this workshop, your shortcut to more clients and higher fees. So, my promise to you is that by the end of the session, you will know why you need to niche. Some of you might be a little bit resistant, and also importantly, how to do it. I've got a giveaway at the end. It's a lovely worksheet for freebie, and also Clarissa, our fabulous tech host, will also share some CTI news at the end as well. So please stick around for those. So, a little bit of design before we dive in. You're already fantastically using the chat. What I would love is there's so many of us on this call. What are there? And also watching replay. Thank you for joining us on replay. We have 900 signed up. We have 244 on the call. It's all a go-go. Now, because there are so many of us, Clarissa is here to manage and filter your questions. So when I'm talking, what I love is interaction, and I love to hear your question. So please type your questions to me as I'm gabbing on. You've got anything, just bash it in there because you won't be the only one thinking, what's this question? So Clarissa, for that, do you want them in the Q&A or the chat?
Yeah, it helps if the chat is like on fire and there's a lot happening, put in the Q&A so I can, see it more clearly. But for, now this chat has slowed down a little bit. So you can put it in chat, but yeah, if you're really wanting to make sure I see it, put in the Q&A, which you can see at the bottom of
Great.
your screen.
So open up your Q&A. Lovely to see you all in the chat. Open up your Q&A. Any questions for me, please type in the Q&A. And Clarissa will do her best either to read it specifically or if she's noticing themes, she'll pull up on themes. So please, 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 where are you both based, Clarissa and Sue? Oh, there we go already. Someone's testing it out. I'm in London. Clarissa, where are you?
Yeah, and I'm in Amsterdam. So yeah, both on this side of the water in Europe.
There we
Yeah.
go. There we go. So, anything else, Clarissa, before we get started?
Yeah, there was a question about a replay, and replay and slides will be shared within 24 hours at this link that I just put in the chat. So you will have it there if you can't stay for the whole thing.
Yeah, wonderful. So let's dive in. So again, let's check if you are in the right place. So this is for you, even if you haven't started coaching yet, but you're thinking of starting coaching with Coactive, absolutely highly recommend. Love it. I trained 18 years ago and I still recommend them to this day. So I've tried and tested a few. Whether you're just in your training or if you are further along in your coaching journey and you are not making the money you want to be making, so you've left your corporate job, but you're not hitting the revenue you want to be making, or you are absolutely run off your feet but earning really, really low fees. So this is for you if you want to do it differently to how you're doing it. This is not for you if you need convincing that you need to be looking at the business of coaching. If you are convinced that you just have to do another coach training on top of the coactive, because that is brilliant, fabulous, you don't need to do any other coach training if you're doing that. If you're convinced that you don't need to look at the business, you don't need to worry about all this, what the hell is she talking about, whatever, please don't waste your time, and you will really dislike me very, very strongly. So if that's you, please go and do something else much more effective. But if you know, or you've got an inkling that you need to start looking at this stuff now, or if you're further down the line, you need to start doing it differently, stick around. So why listen to me? So, as I mentioned, I did the coactive training nearly 18 years ago. So, I feel a little bit old as we talk about this. And I am a classic case of someone who left, really great job, wanted to do something with much more purpose and meaning. I randomly had a coaching session. I was like, oh my God. And they were a coactive coach. Looked around, did the training, set up my own business. Now, also classic case, never run my own business ever before. I didn't niche. I just thought, no, I just want to coach everyone. I don't want to miss out on everyone. And I ended up about 2 years in, literally on my hands and knees, because I had over 30 clients, all at, okay fees, but not enough for me to do less. And that was when I was literally had to go to the doctor, get on some medication and take some time out, but not too much time. And I thought I have to start doing this differently. And that's when I started looking at how to run a coaching business. And I've done business courses, I've had business mentors, all sorts of things. And I started getting really good results. And that's when I started working with Coactive and coaching and mentoring other coaches. And I also mentor now to this day other coaches to run their own successful business. And when I say successful business, what I mean is your version of success. I can't speak for all of you. I can only speak from my experience and the people I work with, the other coaches I mentor. We all want to do something of purpose and meaning, but we all want to put food on the table and take care of our families. And none of us want to go back to working the way we worked before. So we want to have really good work-life balance. So that is possible, but only possible if you niche. So let's talk about the things you need to stop doing. So these are the myths and mistakes that I see other coaches making. So this is as important as what we're going to get to, what you need to start doing. What you need to stop doing is as important. So what I want you to do is I'm talking through these, put in any questions to Clarissa, and she'll just jump in and interrupt me. And feel free to push back. I don't mind, just go for it. So myth number one, this is a massive belief that I see and the resistance that I see in so many coaches. I'll lose clients. Let me tell you what happens. It's the opposite that's true. So if you narrow down, what you actually do is you help a specific person deal with a specific problem, and you can help them do that, get from their problem to the prize of resolving that issue. What you want when anyone goes onto your website or your LinkedIn page, whatever it is you have, and you don't have to have a website straight away, but have a minimal. And I'm a corporate coach, I'm a leadership coach, so LinkedIn is a minimal. People need to self-identify. So the opposite is true. What this also leads to is I had one client who refused before they came to me to narrow down because she didn't want to lose any clients, didn't want to lose it. And you just become a jobbing coach at really low rates, or as she did, you get into the associate trap because you haven't narrowed down, you haven't become a person who helps a specific person, you become a jobbing coach. So that's what happens. And when she came to me, she was coaching 1 week. She came out of a week and she did 40 hours of coaching. It's not sustainable. And also she was not getting above £50,000. Well, dollars actually, she was American. $50,000 a year turnover. because at those rates she was on really low rates because she was a jobbing coach. So that's myth number one. Anyone resonate with
Sorry, Sue, quick question that's coming up. What's a jobbing coach? People
the
might not
jobbing
understand
coach?
that wording. Yeah.
Yeah, a jobbing coach is you're just so I liken it to in England we have GPs, general practitioners, they're doctors, they're GPs. So they're the people that you just go if you've got a sore arm, you've got a sore leg, or you need to be referred on to an expert or a consultant. So a jobbing coach is just someone who is can deal with anything, everything, could coach anyone, works on anything. Now, if you're a jobbing coach, you will just be paid at jobbing rates, as I call it. You will be paid by the hour and you won't be paid very well because you could just be anyone and you could be replaced by anyone because you're not a specific person who coaches specific people to resolve a specific problem. You're just kind of like bottom of the tree, really. As I say, if you had a specialist heart condition, who would you want to deal with that? A general practitioner or a cardiac surgeon who deals with just that heart problem? And it's the same for people who come to coaching. If you have done your coactive training, you know we are in the business of transformation. People who want transformation in their lives and their lives are valuable don't want to go to someone who's just like, oh yeah, come to me, I do all sorts. I do all sorts. That's what I mean by jobbing coach. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And just to clarify, also, you said something about the associate trap.
Yes.
So, what is the associate trap?
Yeah, so the associate trap, as I call it, is when you're starting out in coaching. You don't have confidence, you haven't niched, so you're not a specialist. So you're not somebody who works with particular people on a particular problem. So what you do is you start doing associate work for some big coaching company. And they, like my client who came to me, and they will charge you out at say £500 an hour, and they might give you 120. If you're lucky, I know people who get paid under £100 an hour when they're farmed out at 500. What happens when that happens is that you have to work so many hours, like my client did, just to make ends meet. And every single hour that you're working in someone else's business and you are not spending on your own business and developing your own business and getting your own clients. So I just want a massive reality check here. If you're running a coaching business, the purpose of a business is to make money. The purpose of coaching, the kind of coaching we do in Coactive is transformation, absolutely. But if it's part of a business, the purpose of a business is to make money. And if you want a business that makes money, that puts food on your table and supports your family and your life, and you can go out there and be a coach and live your purpose, you need to start spending and get acquainted with the fact that you need to spend time on the business. You need to do marketing. You need to do sales. You need to be doing social media posting. I'm sorry, but you do. You need to be getting the message out there. You need to be having outreach conversations with HR directors if you want to do leadership coaching. You need to be speaking to people. You need to be getting in front of groups of your ideal client. While you're doing associate work, you're doing none of that. That's the associate trap. Does that make sense, Clarissa?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's helpful. I think there's, yeah, questions coming about niching down and how to do it. So I think you're going to get there. So I'll let you
You're going to get
continue
there.
on.
Don't worry about
Yeah.
that. But look, we'll get there. But what's really important is you don't stay over here. And that's why I'm talking about this bit. So you need to look at where you are as well as what you need to get to. The other big mistake is staying a generalist. So again, I had a client who came to me, she couldn't get above 30,000. And when we niched down, she started working specifically with insurance directors on a specific group of pain spots that she'd identified. This was her industry that she came from. She went from just earning 30 by coaching loads of people about loads of things to selling into a business a £90,000 program, and that was a pilot. So if that gets recommissioned, that's just on repeat. So this is what's possible when you niche. Onto mistake. Onto, is it myth or mistake number three, Carissa? Okay. This is a really, really big one amongst coaches. Look, there is no coincidence that most of us, and I will put my hand up as well, that go into coaching are either rescuers or fixers. We want to help people come out of a problem and come to a solution. The other part of that is many of us also think that it's really bad to ask for money to do that. So there's something really, really bad about earning good money, helping people out of a problem. It's known as a collapsed belief. So a lot of coaches get stuck either really charging not a lot of money because it's really bad to charge a lot of money. There's something evil about money. That's a belief. So what they do is not charge a lot of money, or even worse, in my view, in the early days, do a lot of pro bono coaching. And again, anyone and everyone. So you really, really think it's bad to make good money from helping people. My response to that is well, I obviously don't believe that, and there's nothing bad in earning money, doing something that helps people do the transformation and it supports your family. And there's loads of money in the world and we all have free will and free agency. But that's mistake number three.
I'll let you speak to Sue. There's some questions here about that. We have some certification students in here, and they're
Oh,
trying to get their 100 hours towards certification, and but they still are trying to, maybe find their niche still and things like that. And yeah, what would you say to that kind of question?
yeah, I mean, find your niche as soon as possible. And you may be going through certification. So I started charging right at the beginning of my training and started then charging really well all the way through. The sooner you niche, the better. And the sooner you get clear on who you want to work with and what you want to help them solve, the better. It's win-win. You will enjoy your work a lot more. They will get more benefit because you really start getting into and knowing their issue. And yeah, I really think in terms of certification, always know that you're still coaching from a place of huge life, work, personal experience. So do always really charge well so you can do both. What I would say is don't wait until you finish certification to start focusing on your business. Start doing it. I work with a lot well, I have done over the years, work with a lot of mentees building their business as they're doing their training. The sooner you start getting onto this, the better. So yeah, of course you need the 100 hours, but that doesn't mean you can't niche. That doesn't mean you can charge decent rates. That makes sense, Carissa? Any other questions around that?
Yeah. And well, still that people are kind of stuck on this, wanting to coach anyone and everyone, and the coactive way does it. So one example somebody put is Tony Robbins. It seems like he coaches anyone and everyone. So is that a different kind of coaching, or what is the niche he's narrowed in on kind of thing?
Oh, I think Tony Robbins has narrowed in on a niche for sure. I think he's got a certain market, a certain person. I'm not his niche. There's no way I'd go to a Tony Robbins thing. I'm definitely not his niche. I think he has niche down. And what you start looking is you want to look at people's marketing, because as soon as you've niched, you absolutely, it has you really streamline and narrow down your marketing, your messaging, your efforts, your marketing efforts, where you go and speak, who you speak to, what you do. What's also really good about it is it means you do not become prey to all of these additional coaching programs that people are selling at the moment. In my day, it was career coaching. Now it's ADHD coaching, it's menopause coaching. You don't need any of that. When you niche down, you know who you want to work with, what you help them achieve. The coactive model gives you everything you need. And if you want to work in corporate, do certification. That's it. You don't need anything else.
All right. Well, there's a lot of questions coming in, and I think you're going to answer them. So those of you that have asked questions about, Sue's niche, different niches, how to change it, and things like that. I think we're about to get to that. How do I find my niche? Those questions are coming. I think you're
Yeah,
about to
well,
answer
we'll
them.
come to that, but I can answer. Look, I've got two main niches. So I've got a leadership niche, not niche. I know I'm not American. I've got a leadership niche and I've got a coach mentoring niche. So my leadership niche is I work with technically excellent leaders who are too hands-on operational and need to step back and become more strategic. That's my niche. And within that, and I'm not always explicit about it, but I am in my wording, my messaging, what I write about, and my testimonials. I typically work with men in the finance and construction industries, very analytical thinking men. So my marketing speaks to that, even though that may not be explicit. My second niche is I coach mentors, typically corporate coaches. I mentor coaches to build thriving coaching businesses. So people transitioning from corporate world into running their own coaching business, focusing on corporate like I did for the first time. So they're my two niches. Okay. So let's finish that slide, Carissa. So yeah, the result is low fees and either few clients because people don't want to go and see a generalist, or if you're super good at marketing, like I was in the early days, I loved it. So I had shed loads of clients, but all at the lower fees as well. So it can lead to either exhaustion, overwhelm, overworking, or just too few clients. And then I say you're really prone to either doing the associate trap or all of these extra trainings that promise you if you do this, you'll get clients, and it's all rubbish. Doing extra coach trainings does not bring you more clients. Okay, so let's move on to the good news. The solution. So, as I've been banging on about, what's really, really important. So, the first P, Carissa, people. Get really clear on who you love working with. And this may take a little bit of time. I remember starting to do this exercise. It was really, really challenging. So make sure you do it with a coach, mentor, peer groups, whoever. But do it now. Let's do a really crude version, a really quick win, and let's see what comes up for people. Just write down a couple of lines. Who do you love working with? So my example, to give you an idea, was I really love working with leaders, male leaders, who have loads of saboteurs, who are workaholics, high achievers, super analytical thinking, but they're feeling really lack of purpose, really overworked. Those ones. I love really smart people who are really willing to do the work. Or the coaches who were basically me, where I was, never done it before, super smart, really committed, really know they want to do a business, and they've got a family and they want to make that all work together. Mine is typically quite personality led. So super high achiever. Basically, we coach ourselves, just to give you a clue. So write down a couple of lines, who you love working with. Oh, lovely, people are doing it in
Yeah,
the chat. Love
exactly. I was just going
it.
to
Let's
point you to the
go.
chat.
Fab. So look, we're getting, this is, like I say, this is really rough and ready, just the start. I obviously do more time thinking, but this is great. Look, there you go. There you go. With women who are perimenopausal or menopausal, great. Women who mental, yeah, there we go. Now, so think about that. So it's people, that's the first P. Obviously, spend some more time. And when I'm working with clients, I get them to do an ideal client table, do an avatar. You can Google, there's all sorts of things to really flesh out that person a lot more. Moving on to second P, and I can see all those coming in. I love it. Thank you for sharing. Problem. Now, this is another issue I see coaches fail around. They just want to coach certain people. And what's their problem? People come to coaching to solve a particular problem. Yes, they want transformation, but firstly, they need to get out of the problem and they need to get the prize of transformation. But they have a very clear Typically urgent. Typically, people have been dealing with something, I say, around 2 years, and it's got to get really bad before they come to coaching. So, for those of you that are put into chat, thank you. I love that. Who the people were. What about the problem? What's the problem? Let's have a look at some of those. Yeah, there you go. Some lovely ones. Thank you, Marie. New leaders who want to be good, don't want to be too soft, don't want to follow. What's the problem, Marie? What's the pain of that? What's coming up? Are they getting bad reviews? Are they getting bad feedback? Do they feel bad? Are they overworking? They're the problems of that. Yeah, there you go. Look, being overlooked for promotion. Denise, that's it. Someone being overlooked for promotion is a really, really clear, urgent pain worth paying to solve. People will pay for that, and people increasingly are paying privately for leadership development. So just so you know, there you go. Yeah, love that coming through. Any questions, Carissa, on that?
Yeah, I'm just wondering for the recording if you want to read out any others, just to say them out loud so they have it. But
Yes,
other,
thank you. Yes.
yeah.
So there we go. So people. Here we go. People ready to deal with their trauma and move forward. Yeah. Build strong clientele without any money. People who end up in conflicts with their colleagues at work. Giselle, that's really, really clear. That's a really clear one. Brilliant. Problem is lack of meaning, but feeling too old. Golden handcuffs. That's another one, Carrie. Thank you. Really, they've got to have a clear, urgent pain worth paying to solve. Okay. Can we go to the third P, Clarissa?
Yeah.
Profit. Now, here's the kicker. So remember when we were at the previous slide, talking about money, and we all have money saboteurs. So if wherever you are in your coaching journey, I highly recommend you work with your coach or mentor on resolving your money saboteurs. I've done a lot of personal work around this, and I do that a lot with my mentees because we all have them. So, profit. Your person has to be willing and able to pay. So, if they are not, so can we put some of those in the webinar chat? Are your people willing and able to pay? Anya, this is a live session, not a recording. So just responding to that. So there was somebody then, Olusean, saying, I don't know, find out. It's really, really important, and we'll come to the next steps. You need to find out, are they willing and able to pay? Kate, you notice some flakiness once you say the price. That's a separate conversation on pricing, actually. That's another thing. I would say to you, offer a tiered pricing approach, 3 different pricing options, but that is another thing, yeah. Great. Okay, profit, willing to pay. And then the center one, please, Carissa, as they're all coming through. That's it. So when you check out and research, and we'll come to the next stages, this is just very crude at this moment, that's when you can get the clients you love working with. They're willing to pay for you because they know you can help them specifically solve a specific problem. That is why niching works. Okay.
Amazing, Sue. There's been a couple questions of, this is great and I'm filling this out now. And people are like, but can I change it? Or, how do I know when to pivot from this as well?
Yeah, look, you can change it anytime. You can have one niche, then you can have two, you can change it anytime. In my experience, though, I've pretty much stayed with my niche over the years. I've just got clearer and clearer and clearer and more niched as I've gone along. Because who I am, I grow and develop. I'm always having my own coaching, and I highly recommend you always do. And I'm always developing. My people develop along with me. So I just actually evolve with them. But it's typically, like I say, mine is really personality based. And I love working in the leadership space because I love the intellectual part of it. I love meeting them in their intellect and all of that. And I love really deep stuff, which they absolutely need and love. But I'm very good at giving context, which corporate guys need as well. So it kind of evolves with you. In my experience, and I've dropped a couple of niches along the way. So I used to work with mid-career professionals. I wrote a book for them and all of sorts of things. And I've dropped that niche as I've specialised down to my two leadership and my coach ones. So yes, you can change your mind at any time about any of this, for sure. So let's go on. Are there any questions, or are you happy to move on, Clarissa, to the next? Is that all right?
I think happy to move on and just, yeah, kind of keep, there's still questions about how, how do I keep the niche and how, well, maybe one is like, how do you know if a niche is profitable? Sorry. How do you know if like somebody's willing to pay? Sorry, I was pressing the wrong button. Yeah. How do you know if like a niche is profitable?
Let's go on to the next slide. I think that's a really good question.
Okay.
I think it's a really, really good question. So first, we'll come back. I'm holding that question. Don't worry. It's really important. It's a really good question. Look, we've started very crude, as I say, loads of questions. So what I want is a little framework that you, or if you're watching on record, that you can use to answer all of those questions. They're brilliant questions, and you do need to be asking them rather than just going, oh, this is my niche, boom. So the first question is around, what am I best placed to do? What do I end? For me, it was like, who do I love working with? Actually, who are the guys I love working with, really? And like I say, for me, it's really personality based. And it's basically people like me in these settings and dealing with issues that I've dealt with that I love and I'm really interested in. I've got certain ones, won't go into here, but that is what I did. So really think about your passions, really think about what you enjoy digging into. Really think about who you're best served working with, so your skills. Really think about, if you have got a few clients under your belt, and you may not, but if you have, who were they? Who did you most? What were the topics? It's about passion, it's about energy, what fills you up, what makes you feel like I feel about who I work with. And also what's really good is to reflect upon who are the ones you haven't enjoyed working with. So what type of people do you not like, or what type of energy do you not like? Personality type or subject type. Think about that too, super important. Then number two, this is where you go back to the people, problem, profit. Go back, dig into that and test that out a bit. Really think about that. And actually go on to the next one, please, Clarissa, and I'll say, because it makes sense a bit. Do your research. Do your due diligence. So when I work with coaches, I get them to go out and do the research. We may have identified a really shit hot niche that we think, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. But what you want to find out is this is this a niche? Is this somebody? Do they exist? Do they pay for a problem? What are their pain points? What is their language? For example, I had a client who wanted to be a burnout coach. But actually, when you do your research, and from the knowledge I know, because I work in corporates, a lot of companies will not pay for that. A lot of companies won't pay for well-being, let alone burnout. A lot of people do not identify with the word burnout. I have clients who are definitely on their way. They would not identify with that word. So discover, call up people, have conversations, do your online research, whether that niche is a go. Do your due diligence. This is your business. This is something to be researched.
And so there's a follow-up question to this, like from Mike, for your own niches, like how did you come up with them? How did you research get to this point?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So I really remember, like I say, when I had that real burnout, whatever you want to call it, moment, it was a real wake-up call for me. And I remember getting loads of books on this, finding out, and then I had a couple of different mentors around this. And it was actually quite difficult for me. I remember, because it was a different office, doing the thinking about who do I really enjoy working with? What are the challenges I love helping them with? It's thinking time and it's allowing the time to do it. And then every time I got one of those clients, it's like, oh yeah, that is it. And who it, it's a process. It's a top front, up front, but for me, it was definitely personality based. It was definitely overachiever, really smart, suffering from work-life balance because they drive themselves really hard. Those kind of people in the leadership setting, because what's happening is that's having an impact on them and the way they lead because they're so driven, and it's the deeper stuff that I like, it's the drivers and things like that, that's having a really negative effect on their business, their teams, but also importantly on their personal and family life. So I work with the whole person, like the coactive model, and we really do the deeper work, the really deep work about who they want to be and their drivers, the saboteurs, all that really juicy stuff. So yeah, it's a process. And then of course, as I got more into that, and then I started mentoring coaches. So I identified that I love working with people who want to go into corporate coaching, basically because they're like me, like I say. It's not rocket science, really.
Oh, I love that, Sue. Thanks for sharing. And
Yeah.
there's a few questions. If you could just like clarify how or where do you do your research? You said
Yeah.
maybe the internet, interviews, what
Yeah.
else?
Yeah. It's have conversations with those people, have outreach conversations, market research conversations, look at groups, do Google searches. Look, I mean, seriously, chat is your best friend for all of this. Or what's the other one? The Microsoft one, the other one. I'm not aligned with any AI. But yeah, do your due diligence. Research. Do you need any more answers around that, Clarissa? How to do research?
I think it's pretty clear from my side, but yeah, if people still have questions, please put it in the chat or the Q&A.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Okay.
can keep going.
I love research, but I'm an ex-journalist, so for me it's all obvious, but I don't know. Yeah. When you have a niche, yeah, I haven't got time to read those two big questions, so I don't know if you can, Clarissa.
Yeah, so and this question comes up a lot because especially when we in our coactive courses, we're telling people that you can coach anyone and you can because the CTI model isn't focused on a problem but on the whole person. So it feels like niching would maybe make you focus on the problem instead of the whole person. And so yeah, so that's one part. And so yeah, like also how do you not give advice when you're guiding your client like you would in the consultant world.
What I'm saying does not take away from pure coaching. I'm a very pure coactive coach. I do not guide, I do not give advice. Although what I say is I've got an opinion, I've got a nice box of tricks. They are secondary to me facilitating your best thinking. It's so important. You're not a mentor, you're not a consultant. Well, I do mentoring, it's different because it is different. But when you're a coach, it does not impede on that at all. We're not talking about you telling someone how to solve a problem. I am a very purist in terms of coaching. You self-manage and you shut your mouth and you stop yourself coming up with the solutions. That's a huge thing that I see in coaches and coaching. You've got to be really careful. It's a great question because you've got to be really mindful. That is not coaching, that's mentoring or consulting. Niching does not interfere with that at all. Does that make sense, Carissa?
Yeah, I think so. And I'm just scanning the questions. Um, yeah, there's some questions about niching. Jennifer has a question about niching and, the limits of one-on-one coaching. Maybe her niche isn't quite right to be able to demand the rates that she wants, or maybe she needs to charge more. How do you know if you're charging the right amount for your niche? Maybe that's a later question, or yeah.
Yeah, charging and pricing is a whole different workshop. But is there a niching question within that? Limits the income I can
Mm.
make. I actually feel like I have a niche, but my one-on-one coaching limits the income I can make. Then you need to re-look at your offerings for sure. Do you have other income streams beside one-on-one, or are you saying it's possible to make? Yeah, no, Jennifer, that's a great question. So I should read that out for the replay, shouldn't I? So we have a great question from Jennifer. So, and this might apply to all of you, a lot of people actually. I actually feel like I have a niche, but one-on-one coaching limits the income I can make. Do you have other income streams besides one-on-one coaching, or are you saying it's possible to make however much money we want with one-on-one coaching? Jennifer, I am saying it is possible. I am actually streamlining just to do one-on-one coaching. I've looked at groups, I've done groups, but I actually love one-on-one coaching. I work 30 hours a week and I earn six figures. So it's absolutely possible, but only if you niche and you niche really cleanly and well. You offer different pricings and you make sure you do the client profiling, people, problem, profit for sure. And then you've got to review, is this the right niche for me? This is why it's really important that you actually do, before you do any of this, really dig into what's the vision for your business. How much money do you want to earn? Do this heads up. It's really, really important. How much do you want to earn? Who do you want to work with? So if you're going to do that and that's your niche, what are the delivery methods? It might be beneficial for you. I don't know who your niche is. You might have to tell me. But for my niche, I absolutely can. Yes, because I charge really good rates and I work in corporate. So yeah, it's absolutely possible. Does that answer it, Clarissa?
I think so, yeah. And Jennifer, please reach out if it still doesn't answer your question.
Yeah. 30 hours a week includes a marketing outreach. Yes, absolutely, Mohammed. Good question. Associate trap. Actually, shall we finish? Because I'm going to Q&A actually. I can just
Yeah,
walk.
exactly. I was like, well, why don't we finish? And then there, yeah, there's a few
Yeah,
questions
yeah.
that we can answer.
So,
So,
yeah, because they're brilliant questions. That's why, and I love questions. So, can we go to number 4? Craft. So this is why it's really, really important. Remember my point about people need to self-identify because they need to know that person can help me with my specific problem. So my positioning statement at the minute, and I wrote it down because I change it all the time. I love tweaking, I love adjusting. If you look at me on LinkedIn, I'm an award-winning strategic leadership coach for senior leaders and founder CEOs. That's who I work with. That's what I do. It's really clear. Then when they go on my about, it's really clear who I work with and what I help them achieve. Please do not be a generalist. Get really, really clear. And yes, you can have more than one niche. I told you mine. Leadership guys and my coaches as well. You can. But test it, refine. Like I say, I'm always testing, refining. I love it. I love words. I am always listening out in my sessions with coaches. I changed my coaching program name about 2 years ago. It was conscious leader and now it's strategic leader. And that was based on what was coming through in my sessions with my clients. So keep testing, keep refining what works, what doesn't work. When you've got a coaching business, outreach, marketing, sales, all of this stuff is a part of your business. You've got to allow the time for it. And that's why I say don't get caught in the associate trap because then you will not have the time. And I know it's a big shock if you're in the early days. It's like, oh God, I didn't want to run. I didn't do it for this. Well, I know. Most of us don't do it to run a business. But if you want a coaching business, you need to do this stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and just to clarify, because there's been some questions still about certification and finding clients for certification versus what you're speaking specifically to is like if you're building a coaching business.
Yeah, but if you're going through certification, my guess is you're wanting to start a coaching business. I don't know any coaches who do certification, but they're the ones that come to me. So they want to build successful businesses without wanting to become a leadership coach, typically. So yeah, I mean, if you're in-house, then you probably don't have to worry about any of this. But I actually would suggest, even if you are an in-house coach, you do refine and get known for being the go-to person for X people. You instantly elevate yourself in doing so.
All right, great. Thank you so much for that. There's a question, like specifically Nicholas. He says, how do you handle having a clear positioning for two different niches without diluting or confusing people?
You have a website with different doors into different parts, and you have different social media posts. Yeah, and you do
Okay.
different activities for both. So, hello, you're all coaches. I'm in front of you now. I do different activities for my leadership clients. Yeah. Although
Awesome.
I
And
would,
Jude, you're asking the same thing or a similar thing. I get that you can have more than one niche, but when you talk about your positioning statement on LinkedIn, for example, are you picking just one of your niches and then rotating through? So one week you might say one thing, another something else, or do you try and include both niches at the same time?
yeah. If you go onto my LinkedIn, my positioning statement is for leadership. But I know that coaches will go there and check me out. And so you'll see something in my about, and you will also see it in my experience. And I'm here now in front of you, showing you, telling you what I do, part of what I do. So that's how you do it. Yeah. Does that make sense, Clarissa? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if we're ready to move into kind of officially Q&A a little bit more, or if you had another something else you wanted to wrap up with before.
No, we can go to Q&A. We've got some time to go to Q&A. Yeah, if you're happy to keep filtering, that's great,
Yeah.
Clarissa.
Yeah, so it's come up a couple times in the chat. I'll go ahead and stop sharing the screen and maybe come on to interview you more or less. Is corporate the only lucrative or like B2B the only lucrative coaching spaces? So Anne Marie has asked that and somebody else asked that before. Yeah, you
No, not at all.
uh
It's just what I choose to do because I love coaching those guys. It's my happy place. So no, not at all. All I would say is if you're wanting to coach on different subject matters, you may need to look at group format, team format, online format, group programs. Again, what's really important is you get really clear on your business vision. Get really, really clear on that and really clear on how much money you want and need to earn actually as a baseline, who your people are, and then what formats you need to deliver that in line with those two pieces. But also, yeah, corporate is an easy way. Well, I say it's easy, not necessarily easy. It's easy because I love it. It's an easy way to completely change your income level. Absolutely. If you want to do solely one-on-one, which I do, I love one-on-one. I love it.
yeah,
That's it.
thank you. And uh kind of going off of that, if coaching is just only a part of what you're doing, so if it's on, if one-on-one is only part of what you're doing, this is from Anya. How can you make the branding coherent for like her? She says, my niche is clear. For example, I'm a non-executive board member, a teacher, consultant, and a coach, and I never know how to present myself.
Yeah. What you want to do is be really clear on who is reading your profile and what you want them to know. So if you've got those three different roles, I would maybe come up with a theme of what you're about. If you are doing lots of different things, what's your theme? What's your life purpose? And you do it through X, Y, Z. Or what's the link and the thread between those activities? And also think about while you're doing all of those activities, is that what you want to be doing? Do you want to be doing lots of activities? And also, do you need to be promoting that on LinkedIn? There's a lot of things to think about there. Have I answered that question, do you think?
Yeah. And is LinkedIn the only place, a few people have asked, like, is LinkedIn the only place to market themselves, or, is it anywhere on social media or other ways outside of social media that you'd recommend?
Yeah, that you market on the place that your people go to. That's why you need to niche. So you need to know where to market. Um, and of course, there are other things that you do. You do workshops and invite your people to. You go and do lunch and learns, invite your people to. It's a really good idea, however you do it, to get yourself in front of groups of your niche. So that's why you have a niche, because then you can get really specific on what those routes are. Otherwise, you're just kind of flying blind. You could be all sorts, and I've seen it in loads of coaches. You're just doing all sorts, and you just don't really know what you're doing, and you're not getting in front, and so you go into paralysis as well. A lot of people are tinkering away in the background and not putting themselves in front of their niche, their ideal client.
Yeah. I think you're talking to a fear actually that some people, Kate specifically had this to say. She says, I live in Los Angeles and the saying goes, throw a stone, hit a coach. Is this saturation of coaches global? Is it diluting the perceived value of coaching?
That's why you need to niche. You're not just one of those coaches. That's what I'm saying. This is why you need to niche. There are millions of humans on the globe. There's enough for all of us. But don't be a generalist because you're like one of those. That's it. Exactly. That's another reason. And you could say that saturation about any industry. You could say it about anything. It's again, it can be a bit of a saboteur. So just watch that. But it's even more reason to niche because there are so many for sure. But there's so many of everything. Yeah.
No, no, exactly. And I think we have time for a couple more. There's been a few questions about, like, you talked about moving into corporate coaching, and so, but uh, can a person without corporate experience coach in corporate is the question.
Well, look, I don't class myself as having had any corporate experience. I had a saboteur about corporate coaching for the first 3 to 4 years, and I didn't do any because I did not think I was corporate enough. So I was a TV producer. Now I don't think that's corporate. Some say it is corporate because BBC is a corporation. Yeah, you can. I've never been a senior leader in construction. I've never been a senior leader in insurance. It doesn't matter. You're not there to teach them about construction. You're there to help them transform their life and their leadership. Yes, absolutely. But deal with your saboteur that has you worry about that.
Mm. No, thank you. And I see, Sandra, your question in the chat. I think it's about. Sorry, there were so many questions coming in, and I believe
Yeah,
it's
yeah, I
like, should
know.
you list the pricing on your website? What do you recommend around that?
Oh, I've toyed. There's no right or wrong, but I've toyed, and where I've landed is no. But you do need to filter people somehow. So I filter people in pre-questionnaires, pre-inquiry forms, and I've got a wait list. So I ask people on there, I tell them my price bands, and if they can't afford it, they can just listen to my newsletter, and that's fine. I wouldn't have it on the website, no. It's a tough one. And there is no right or wrong, but that's where I am and that's where I've landed. Because what you want is, especially for doing one-on-one, is you want people to feel the value in a chemistry session, but do a chemistry session really well. And then you offer the pricing, but only in line with what they'll get to, and you offer tiered pricing. It doesn't need to be a yes-no conversation or decision.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And there's a few people who have asked for your LinkedIn, so that's why I dropped that in the chat as
Oh,
well.
thank you. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we have about 5 minutes left, Sue, so I'll leave it to you. Where would you like to go from here?
I don't know. Just hit me with what you think's coming through or really
Okay.
through.
Yeah, let me just there was
I don't
one
want to get into the
towards
pricing. I see some questions about pricing because I think that's a different subject for today. But it's clear,
yeah.
hey, it's clearly a subject that people are really interested in. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's just a plug at the end of the webinar,
Yeah.
we'll have a quick
Oh, yeah.
survey. So in that survey, that's how this webinar came up, came to our community is because people filled out the survey and asked for more of it. So if you want a webinar about pricing, that's something to ask for in the survey.
Yeah.
One question from Casey. You talk about the risk of associate traps and coaching too broadly for not enough money. However, in the beginning, a lot of the people here might be in the beginning of their coaching journey. Might it be worthwhile to do that to get more experience and learn your niche?
If you want, but the sooner you niche, the better. I mean, you know, you can also do both. You can coach anyone and everyone in the background, but even when you're on your coach training, the initial coach training, anyone you speak to, now friends and family, that's how I got all my first clients. Again, get specific. So if you've got a friend who goes to the gym and there's loads of women at the gym, find out what their key problems are, what their pain points are, and be specific in an email that she can send out to people about how you might help them get from there to there. Start getting into the mindset of getting specific about people's problems as early as you can. So, yeah, coach a few people, and also do know that you will still get approached by people outside of your niche. It's weird. I
Mhm.
get the occasional one. So, do know that will happen, but you can do both.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you so much. And I think you have a resource
Yes.
that we can, I'll just share this so you can scan it as well, but you can talk about this free resource that can help them probably as well.
Yeah, so this is because I want to hand over to Clarissa. She's got something really important actually to share with you as well. So get a worksheet that will help you do more of this work. There's the QR code there. And if you're watching on replay, there's the QR code there. Um, Before we hand over to Clarissa, I would like you to share in the chat what's your main takeaway from today. Main takeaway. Everything we've talked about. We're wrapping up now. You've spent nearly 60 minutes with me, your valuable time. Thank you. Really appreciate you. Wishing you well with the niching. What's your key main takeaway? Brilliant. Oh, Daisy, my dog, got really fuzzy. Thank you. It's lovely. I'll read those through. We're reading them through. And Clarissa.
Yes. So if you enjoyed this webinar, we invite you to subscribe to our quarterly newsletter because that's called the Coactive Current. I'll go here. You can use the QR code on the slide, or I will also drop the link in the chat as well. So you could subscribe to that newsletter to find out about upcoming events and when those are scheduled. Our next Learn and Lead Live webinar is open for registration on our webinar page now. I'll also drop that link in the chat. And it's the topic is using coaching skills in business. So if this topic is of interest to you, go ahead and sign up and or consider inviting someone who holds a leadership role that doesn't have coaching skills yet who may benefit from this webinar as well. So that's the link for that in the chat. And, if today's conversation sparked something for you, maybe that sense of like coaching is my path, the Coactive Training Institute is where many coaches begin. So if you haven't
Including
yet
me.
yeah, it's like all Sue and I are testament to that. And their foundations course isn't about niches or marketing. It's about learning the mindset and presence that makes coaching powerful in any context. It's also designed as a way to explore whether coaching is truly right for you before really making a bigger commitment. So they've recently, the Coactive Training Institute has recently launched a more flexible, progressive pathway with foundations. Currently, it's available in both Eastern and Pacific time. So if you're curious about that and want to learn more, I'd really encourage you to, talk with one of our advisors. I'll drop the link in the chat to connect with them, or you can email them at sales@coactive.com to explore what might be a fit. And the last thing we'll say again, this webinar came up because a lot of you requested it again to be here with Sue. So and that came from a short feedback form. So as soon as I close the webinar, there will be a feedback form page that will ask. And without your feedback in the past, we wouldn't even have this today again. So thank you all so much for being here. Sue,
And
if you have
I,
any last words.
yeah, I do. I'm just looking at all of the beautiful key takeaways that everyone's sharing there. Saying and also saying thank you to me and to you, Clarissa. Thank you, Clarissa, for holding the tech. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. And yeah, I just want to say thank you, everyone. Go well. If you've not answered your question, I'm sorry. We had a lot of people on the call. But yeah, and yes, you can see all of the links and the QR codes afterwards on the recording. And if you've been watching replay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And have a good rest of the day, everybody.
See you. Bye.
Bye.